What does Social Security mean when they use the term substantial gainful activity, and how does it apply to your Social Security disability case? I'm Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm a Social Security disability attorney. I represent clients in all 50 states, and the reason for that is that Social Security has now gone virtual, so all hearings in disability cases are done by phone or video. So where you live, where I live, where the judge lives, it doesn't make any difference anymore. It's all done by phone. So if I can be of assistance to you with regard to your case, please reach out to me at ssdanswers.com. I want to talk to you today about the concept of substantial gainful activity or work. It's really any number of concepts. Basically what it has to do with is the definition of disability by Social Security, and that is, do you have a medical condition or conditions that prevents you from engaging in substantial gainful activity that has lasted or is expected to last 12 consecutive months or result in death? And the thing I want to focus on is the substantial gainful activity part, because really when you look at Social Security disability, it is a vocational inquiry, meaning they want to know how your medical problems impact your capacity for work. You could have 15 medical problems. You could have congestive heart failure, multiple herniated discs, uncontrolled diabetes, chronic kidney disease. If those things don't affect you from working or prevent you from working, then you're not disabled. So you've got to show that you have a medical problem that prevents you from working or engaging in substantial gainful activity. Now, generally when I talk to my clients and I talk about substantial gainful activity, I give the example of a warm body job. Could you do a simple entry-level type of job where you're basically sitting there, you're putting ink pens in a box, you can sit or stand as you need to, but you really have to be there 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's really about reliability. But substantial gainful activity can also be going to school full-time or close to full-time, because again, if you're going to college, whether it's online or in person, you're doing activities that are roughly equivalent to work. In fact, when you're going to college, because you have to concentrate more because it's an academic endeavor, in fact, you have to prove that you can not only that you can't do this academic work, but you could do even something simple that doesn't require any kind of thought or concentration. So it could be volunteer work. You're a docent at a museum where you're walking people around or showing people which way to go in the museum. You may not be getting paid for that, but that's still substantial activity because it's roughly equivalent to what somebody might do for a paid job. You're babysitting an elderly person with dementia or a child that is 3 or 4 years old. You're not getting paid for it because it's your relative or your grandchild, but that's still work or activity that is equivalent to work. So Social Security is going to look at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, which is why in a disability case, even in the forms when you apply or at a hearing, a judge will say, what do you do with yourself during the day? They're trying to figure out whether you're engaged in substantial gainful activity. But again, I think a good way to look at this would be, can you do any sort of simple entry-level kind of work? Now you may say, I've been doing work as an administrative assistant. I'm a systems engineer for handling computer problems. I've done wiring. I've done things that are complex, and I'm making good money. I'm making $25, $30 an hour. I can't survive on a minimum wage job because, again, substantial gainful activity assumes a simple entry-level job. So that's minimum wage type of job where you're sitting and standing as you need to. So you may say, again, I can't survive on a minimum wage job, or there are no jobs that I'm aware of in where I live that have that sit-stand type of option, or I'd be bored out of my mind, or I'm way overqualified for that, no one would hire me, or I don't have transportation to one of these type of jobs. It's in a factory. The closest one I'm aware of is in a factory that's 50 miles away. I don't have a reliable transportation. None of that matters. The question is, if you were magically transported to this job site, a limousine came every day and picked you up, and took you in on a, in a wheelchair, could you perform the job as it is normally performed in a simple entry-level manner? And again, it's sometimes hard to get past that, because most people say, well, I would never do anything like that. I've had a very responsible type of position. I'm not doing that. But that is in fact what they're doing. And when you get to a hearing, a judge would have a vocational witness there to describe what you have done and to answer questions for the judge about jobs that may be available. And I'll give you an example from some hearings I've had of simple entry-level sit-stand type of jobs that if you can do one of these jobs, you are not disabled. So imagine, if you will, a job where you're an eyeglass frame polisher. Imagine, again, sitting and having eyeglasses that are coming off an assembly line, you're polishing them to make them look good for sale. A telephone quotation clerk. People call up, they want to, how much does it cost for a car wash? How much does it cost for this service? You give an answer. Simple sit down, you consider stand, you may be wearing a headset. That is an example. A table worker. This is that example of someone who's putting ink pens in a box or packing things. That is a table worker. You can do it sitting or standing. It's not necessarily production based, but you've got to get through the day reliably. An egg processor. Now again, you may say there's no egg farms near me, but again, if that doesn't really matter, if such a job existed, could you do it? That would be inspecting eggs to make sure there's no cracked eggs and putting those eggs into a carton. A final assembly worker. This is part of an assembly type of job where maybe you're doing the last stage of it. You're putting the top of the box on. You're putting a little sticker on there saying inspected by number 23. You've seen those type of things. That would be a final assembly worker. A document preparer, where you're working near a fax machine or a printer and you're putting documents into some sort of order, maybe stapling them using an electronic stapler. A microfilm preparer. Now, you may not even know what microfilm is, but it's an old way of storing documents, and putting documents under the microfilm camera and pressing a button. That would be a microfilm preparer. Or putting the reels in boxes. This one that we used to see a lot, I don't see as much anymore, surveillance system monitor. That's where, imagine you're at a used car lot and you have a bank of screens in front of you and you're looking to see, is somebody breaking in? If they are, you hit a button. So those are examples of sedentary, unskilled, entry-level work typically with a sit-stand option that you could do. Somebody might demonstrate how to do it for 10 or 15 minutes, then turn you loose. You can do it. That is the level of job you've got to show that you can't do. And like I said, if you have been doing some job where you're doing a lot of multitasking or dealing with changes in the workplace or dealing with complicated type of matters, you may think, well, how could I not be able to do an eyeglass frame polisher? But that's what you have to be able to show, and you've got to have medical evidence that basically says you would not be reliable. And so I'm telling my clients now that disability is really about reliability. Would you likely miss 2 or more days of work a month? Would you likely have to take unscheduled breaks 2 or 3 times a day, 3 or 4 days a week? That's usually enough to move the meter. And in fact, a lot of judges will now ask vocational witnesses, what is the tolerance for off-task behavior during a day, or how many days of work can somebody miss before it becomes a problem? So that is what Social Security disability is all about. It is about reliability and performance of a simple entry-level job, and does the medical evidence support that? So that's what you got to prove. That's really that's how I would envision or understand the concept of substantial gainful activity, and that is, again, what we got to do when we're trying to win a disability case. Visit me online at ssdanswers.com. I have a free download. It's called Secrets to Winning Disability Survival Kit. I've also got a place where you can request a case evaluation. I'll take a look at your claim and give you my ideas as to whether I think you have a good argument for disability. Also a lot of FAQs on that. I've got links to my videos, other videos. So again, visit me on ssdanswers.com. If you thought this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me. Leave me a comment on the YouTube channel. Give it a like on Facebook. Leave me a comment there as well. It's always very helpful to know what people are thinking, what they want to know more about. Happy to try to do that. And again, if I can be of help to you, reach out to me through the SSD Answers website. I will be happy to try to help you any way I can. I know this process can be a little bit overwhelming. I use these videos to try to break it down a little bit. And again, if I can help you, I am happy to do so. So for now, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, wishing you all the best. Thanks a lot. Hi, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to know more about how to win your Social Security disability case, I'd like to invite you to download my Secrets to Getting Approved Early Survival Kit that I created just for people like you. Currently, I'm making the survival kit available at no cost, and I encourage you to grab your copy now. Some of the topics I cover include: how do I know if I have a case? Is it the right time for me to file my claim? 9 common mistakes that can doom your case. The 3 must-have arguments you use to win your case. And a topic that every disability claimant wants to know: how to avoid trick questions from the judge. If you or a loved one need to win Social Security disability benefits, you'll find the Survival Kit essential reading. Download your Survival Kit right now and at no cost. Just visit ssdanswers.com/survival and sign up. It's that easy. Please act now. And as always, I wish you the best.